where two or more of you gathered in my name. So we are gathered. Oh, look! It's more people.
You were just going to have class with Miss Wanda?
Oh, come on.
You're not going to stay here?
I think I should keep going.
Hey, all redheads are welcome.
Let me go get Val and Grace.
Go get James.
Let me go get Blaine.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. Hey, Miss Anna.
I'm here.
Are you making
How are
it,
you
sweetie?
feeling it?
How you
Good,
feeling?
good. Well, yeah, good.
You feel good?
I do.
Taste
Wednesday,
taste and smell that?
yes,
Okay, that's good.
yes. Wednesday, I was still coughing a little, so I was scared to come and see what
Right.
people think. I knew I wasn't contagious anymore, but anyway, but then I miraculously woke up and my cough was just gone.
Good.
Yeah,
Well,
telling you.
My vaccine yesterday,
the first one.
Yeah.
the first one, and I felt awful last night. Like I started feeling like nauseous. My arm was so sore.
Are you
My
better now?
stomach was hurting. I'm okay now. I just felt like it was like, she said, oh, you might have like,
What?
like
I went and got it and I felt like trash.
Did you? You
I-
did feel bad?
Yes, well, I got really scared at school and I wasn't actually going to get the vaccine.
Yeah, I know,
But,
we talked.
yeah, we talked about it. But I got really scared and so I was like, okay, I'm going to go get it. And I got it Saturday, like 3 Saturdays ago, and Sunday, I felt like a Mack truck had run me over
I felt kind of bad the first,
after the first one.
but you know what? I had talked to myself. I said, Self, are you really feeling this way, or is it in your head that you're feeling this way? You know?
Feeling good.
I had a low grade fever. No, that was with the.
I had
That was with the.
Have you ever
yeah.
had a reaction like that to the flu shot? Me either. So that's why I'm
But I've heard that if you've had COVID, the shot is worse.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, see, I
Because
had
it's like
COVID.
building back up
Well,
the antibodies.
I
and
might
stuff.
have had COVID last year in June.
Well,
but
we
I
did
never
have
got
COVID.
tested,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I did have COVID in
I did
February.
too. I got tested
so.
and had it. So
I
I
never got
had it in November,
Yeah,
and
you
then I
know.
got the shot.
But see, mine was
in
nothing,
March.
like, I had a headache and I had,
My-
what? I had a headache and that's about it.
Oh, Lindsay's
Oh,
down. That reminds me, I gotta put mine on the
So-
table. Y'all don't look at my paper, y'all
Okay.
don't look at my gift bag.
Almost taste.
Your secret sister gift.
Yeah. But I felt so tired, I went, we
I
went to
can't
eat
wear
and
this.
I ran by Kroger, and
It's
that's when I
new.
really started
Really?
feeling awful, I wanted to go eat.
Anything that's got cheetah or
like-
like, oh, this is so
And I went to
cute.
the bathroom, I felt awful, I was
That's
able to
darling.
eat some food, but I was like,
I can
when
pay you
ran by
for
Kroger,
it.
I'm like,
Tell
I'm
me,
going, I
Jackie,
gotta
Thank you,
eat things.
Lynn.
At the
And I'm trying to
Jackie
push the
Bell's
cart, my arm
little
starts hurting,
booth
I'm
at
like
the-
so tired, I'm out of it, I'm falling asleep. And people probably looked at me like I was crazy because this lady's pushing a cart, she's closing her eyes.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I mean, I told Jared, I was like, okay, I've had the flu before, I've had strep before, I've had whatever. I said, this is not the same.
Yeah.
I ran fever for like 3 or 4 days, which, okay, whatever. But like, just the headache I had.
Yeah.
And then just how, I mean, I don't know, I can't
Well, you
really
couldn't smell, that was your, couldn't smell and taste, that's the good,
It was
giveaway.
horrible.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't eating.
See, I can't smell,
I
period.
wasn't eating.
Oh, really?
Whenever. My sense of smell is
Even
gone.
previously?
Yeah, I mean now, no, never can.
Before you got COVID?
Yeah.
Well, I knew it because I couldn't smell diapers.
Now, if it's really strong, I can't, but I mean, just as a normal,
Yeah,
Rogers
well,
will go,
and
don't
then
you
they
smell that? I go,
Yeah.
no.
My daughter kept saying,
Well,
Mom,
so maybe last
take
year
your
it
diaper.
smelled.
I'm like, I don't need
I have no
to.
sense of smell.
She's like,
No,
yes, you do.
it has nothing to do with COVID.
And I was like, oh, yeah.
Well,
I am
so
the
you're
official
saying I'm
sniffer of
gonna
my
smell-
house.
Well,
I
I'm just-
couldn't
You know, used to
see the
Jordan would
right
go,
smell.
"Is this
When I
smell
walked
good?"
outside, when my senses first went away, like the first day I walked
Come in,
outside,
Nana.
it smelled like iron.
Oh, that's weird.
Metallic. All outdoors did. I was like, that's very weird. And then it just went, and then it just completely went away.
Yeah. Well, I was telling somebody, I like smell banana peels, lemon peels, like I was trying to smell literally anything. Rubbing alcohol,
To see if
let
you
me
could
smell.
Did you get COVID?
When I had COVID in February, yeah.
Oh, okay.
well, I was making coffee, I'm trying to smell coffee last year in June when I got sick, and I couldn't smell it.
Yes,
You know,
it does.
my baby.
Oh. I love
Yeah, that was when I knew. I was sitting out like the first 3 days, but I still had my, or 2 days, whenever I had my taste and smell.
Yeah.
And then when that went, I said, well, I don't have to get tested, I guess I'll what I got.
Yeah.
That was the worst part of COVID for me, was, it was not the smell, but not being able to taste.
Well, see, she and I talked, because she's like, when did you get your smell back? My smell lasted like 3.5 weeks, I think, but I never lost my taste. And I was like, I really wish I had, because then I wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
Which was,
You
it's
really
so
don't wanna eat
strange.
when you can't taste it.
Well, that's like Michelle, when we took her food, I was like, what can I bring you? She's like, it literally doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad, she said I'm ready for a
I was like, I should
okay?
just, she was like, give me a whole box of vegetables.
And when your taste is gone, the texture of food is so odd.
Oh,
'Cause
really?
it is very strange.
I had a sensory issue too when I had COVID with
Really?
the texture. Ground beef felt like wet toilet paper.
Ew.
Isn't
It was
that-
bad, like I was.
Ew, I would not eat it.
All right, ladies, let's get started.
Sorry, I don't
That's
even
okay.
have my Bible or anything. Y'all.
You got a phone?
I do.
You got a Bible?
It was a rough morning. Jude screamed all morning long. What's wrong with him?
Ladies, we have a lot of people to pray for.
Oh, boy.
I mean, I don't even know that we need to list them.
Probably not.
It's, this second wave has definitely impacted our congregation. We need to pray for Brother Ray's family. That loss of that man is just
That's horrible.
certainly heaven's gain, but hole in our hearts. And I guess most of you know Pete and Justine were taken to the hospital last night.
I did not know that.
I missed
They're-
it
but
this morning.
Pete's in ICU, and Justine, she was better when they got to the hospital, the post said, but they're still keeping her.
Walter
And they're-
Marvel's in the hospital.
Walter's back in the hospital, yeah. And I think Bud Clark's in the hospital,
Carrie died.
Carrie Di's in the
Sue's
hospital.
mom.
Sue's mom's in the hospital. And the Scotts, yeah, I mean, so it's just, and let me tell y'all something, and I'm glad you're here, and I'll get your opinion. I've struggled and struggled, and y'all know I cried everything, so I've been shedding tears. I think I'm gonna postpone the Ladies' Day. I mean, I think it's, if nothing else, out of respect for these people that are so sick. I mean, I don't know what else to do. Anna, what do you think? You can see it on your face.
I'm not thinking.
Okay, and I think,
I'm-
but anyway. I mean,
Everything else has been postponed, I just.
yeah. Yeah, I just don't know what else to do.
Until we know what when the spike is
Yeah,
gonna,
yeah.
that's
Well,
perfectly.
I've also heard my Blaine's mother-in-law, she works in Florida, she's a director of a nursing home. There's a new variant now called the Lambda variant.
It's
that's
in
killing
Arkansas, it's
people
here.
within
Yeah.
24 hours.
Yeah.
It what?
It's killing people within 24 hours.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, let's,
All right, so we do that. Who would like to lead us in prayer this morning? Okay, thank you.
You would bow with me. Heavenly Father, we're so thankful for this day and for all of the many, many wonderful blessings that you have given us. We're just so excited about seeing Hannah and various ones who have been out with COVID. We're praying for their families, and we're praying for the church as a whole, that we'll be able to, that you will allow this COVID to just stop. We're asking you to be with us. We know that you hold the germ in your hand. We pray for all those who are sick among us, those who have been admitted to hospitals, those who are suffering with physical ailments, diseases. Please, dear Lord, you know what their needs are. Please provide those for them. And we pray that we'll be the support that they need during these times. Forgive us, dear Lord, of our sins. We know we have sinned against you in some way. Forgive us, help us to be stronger, to resist the devil, and to continue to walk this path, this race that's set before us. We love you, we need you, and we know that we can't literally take a breath without you. It's in your son's most precious name we pray. Amen.
Good morning, Nancy, with your cute little sleek bald head. We miss you. We are coming to the end of this book. Y'all, I really enjoyed this book. I was just thinking, I wrote down, I wish we could do this book for every book of the New Testament and go through it like that. I mean, I've learned a lot. I mean, it's been a great in-depth study. I wish you had one. There used to be one somewhere there. But I mean, this is our last day anyway, so I know Miss Carolyn's going to start teaching next Sunday. Carolyn Lee. I don't know what she's going to teach. I don't know if she's got a book. I don't know what. So, but that's the plan there. Would somebody please read Hebrews 12:1 and 2 for me, please?
Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God.
Okay. God gave us these witnesses, or what I was thinking about them more, call them more like they're examples of perseverance. And one thing I like about this chapter, and like about the chapter in the book, how she does it, but it's also the Bible does this for us too, comparing our life and our daily living to a race. And I really like that analogy that we have there. But these witnesses and that encourages us that we can run the race, they give us inspiration in how they can, because were they perfect? Were their lives perfect? They weren't. Did they have easy lives at all? Did they remain faithful? So they are examples to us that we can use. But I started thinking, I love stories like this. Do we have people that are in our cloud? You know, it talks about these are a cloud of witnesses for us. Do we have people that when we need help that we look to? Or people that we look at, you know, maybe even from afar for encouragement or inspiration or whatever, that may not have, you know, an easy time, but they're faithful and they keep going. And then I think Ray Bagels was one of those people. Absolutely, he was one of those people. And I have someone that I go to when I need help or I need questions, and that's Connie Sasser. She's my lady. So I mean, do y'all have people that you look to or go to when you need encouragement or help or don't have trouble with something? You do? Good. Yeah, I mean, I just think we all need those people that we can look to help us when we're in times of trouble. But that's what in Hebrews they gave us, was these people that we can use for encouragement and inspiration. But he talks about we have to lay aside things which burden us so we can run the race. The things that encumber us may not be sin, but weights or burdens. And I started thinking about this, and I think the first thing that we have to do is we have to identify what are those weights in our lives and what are those burdens. Sometimes mine are, you know, I don't say no very easily. I can't tell people no, and I get so overwhelmed that I don't do well at anything. So I know that's part of my weight and burden that I have to watch for. But I really feel like that's a first step, is identifying what is in our lives that keeps us from running the race as well as we can. The book talks about how sometimes women take on too much, and I believe that's quite very true. It talks about how it's tangled up. We get tangled up in these things. But I need someone to read Matthew 6:33 for me.
But seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Can I go ahead to the next verse?
You can.
Take therefore no thought for tomorrow, for tomorrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil
you've got something to say.
You know, sometimes it says, sometimes we always talk about, ooh, how bad something is happening. So I'm thinking about all the many people who are facing, the floods up there in Waverly, Tennessee. You got people who are right in the eye of the storm now of the hurricane. You have people that have been lost, are going to be facing eviction come, the end of this month. And when you think about it, but if a person gets so transfixed on what's gonna happen tomorrow, we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. And I like the way he said, today has got enough in it that's gonna happen. It's enough trouble right in today to not try to
Especially
put
today.
yourself in tomorrow because it hadn't come. So sometimes we worry about things that have never happened and may never happen. I mean,
know.
today I'm gonna get hit by the wind in the middle of the storm, but it's many people who storms have passed over. Tornadoes clean one side of a street, the other side untouched. So you just don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Perspective.
You know, and talk about keeping our minds set on the kingdom and keeping our eyes set on the kingdom and our goal, and letting all these other weights and encumbrance and burdens that we carry every day fall away, because we have got to run this race, and we've got to keep our eye on the prize. And that prize is promised to us, it's waiting for us there, but we have to stay focused on it and get rid of all the weights that keep us from enjoying the promises and these things that we've got. But like I said earlier, I really love the analogy of running a race. So as a runner who's going to run a race, we have to continually train. Like my husband does, not like me. We have to renew our minds constantly. It would be easy just to bump through life, as many people do, but we are to be faithful, solid, and strong in our faith. Somebody read Ephesians 4:14.
That we should, oh, go ahead.
Notwithstanding you, we have well done, that you did communicate with my affliction, with my culture.
Oh, I'll read it. That we should no longer be children tossed to and fro, carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the trickery of men and the cunning craftiness of deceitful plotting.
So, I mean, we have to have our roots solid in the Word, our roots solid in faith, our roots solid in the truth to be able to run this race. But another thing that, and runners don't look behind them when they're running. That would not be a good thing. You would fall down. They press forward. Somebody read Philippians 3:13 and 14. Philippians 3:13 and 14.
Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forward unto those things which are before. I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. And I'm always reading from King James Version, so you may read a little better, different than from another.
That's perfect. I took the word and press in that verse. We are to press forward. What does the word press mean to you?
Ironing.
Ironing. Yeah. Huh?
You gotta put in your iron, even if you have the best iron to it, you still have to put a little strength into it.
Yeah,
You gotta
you do.
hold on to the iron, you can't just put it up there, you gotta move it, but like you said, we're going forward, not looking back on our own afflictions, in the other words, because that could be a weight, you know,
Yeah.
pull us down, a burden.
But press is like there is a conscious effort to press forward. there is a contact there. You have contact with something that you press to get it either out of the way or to push it forward or whatever. So we have to press to move these encumbrances, that's not a word, is it? Out of our way. We have to press to move forward. We have to press to make it to the goal line where our promises and our Lord and our in heaven is. We have to keep pressing. We have to remain contact with the truth, and we have to press forward to make it to the end. So it's not, and what we were saying just a little earlier, it's not just you. You know, we've talked about in here a lot about people that just, oh yeah, I love God, or yeah, I know Jesus. Yeah, Jesus God. You know, there's so much more to that. You have to be conscious and contact with the truth and press forward to make it to that goal line. Yep.
And to add what you said, it's not easy. Some people say, well, it's easy to be a Christian. It's not easy. There is resistance. It's not from nobody but the devil. There's resistance. So so that pressing has to do with the fact that, like I said, sometimes when we just don't want to get up out of the bed, you don't want to come.
Yeah.
You have to make a conscious effort. You know, it's
That's
amazing how some people can have all their stuff ready for the next day on their job, be laid out. No, nurses can't do this. Uniforms, everything. Okay. So nothing can stop us, you know? But we have to have that same spirit when it comes to Jesus. Somehow on a Sunday morning we can't figure out what dress we want to put on. We don't know. You have to make that special effort, that same effort that you put into trying to get your job, to go to social media, to be at the baseball game, to follow your child into band, because I went to band with both of my kids, and it was something. I'm telling you, I thought I could play the instrument out there going with them. Sitting in the hot sun, but you will do all of that. But for Jesus, we are, somehow.
We have to consciously.
We don't look up.
We have to consciously and consistently, live our lives with the goal of heaven in our minds. Isn't that right?
Abby said
She
amen.
said amen. And Ivy says amen. Yep.
Look at her, she's looking at you.
Somebody read Galatians 6:9 for us. Go ahead.
That's a word that I love in verse 13 before you get away from this. Forgetting those things which are behind.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have a problem with forgiving ourselves, from looking in the past about something. We have to get, all of these things can hinder us as Christians, because sometimes the problems can be, if you're still hung up with something that happened in the church 10 years ago, you're still hanging on to that. Somebody sniffed, didn't look at me right in the worship service, or somebody, if you're still hanging on to that one thing that happened 10 years ago, you have to forget things and keep going. Regardless of other people you may meet, disrespectful people you may meet, you have to not let that get in your way, because sometimes you can say, well,
It's another encumbrance.
I've heard talk to people that just be treating go, well, so-and-so said something to me that offended me. And I'm thinking to myself, did you quit your job because somebody say something to you that offended you?
Well, that's what we're talking about, the weights and the things that are in your way that keep you from running this clean, clear, straightforward way. Yes, ma'am.
In my Bible app on my phone, you can click on a verse, and you can, everybody who has this app, anybody can make notes and things on that verse, which is cool. But anyway, one I just found for this group of verses, he said, use the past as a springboard, not a sofa. So I thought that was nice.
I like that.
I think you also have
Don't
to
be hung up on that.
consider, Paul's writing this, and Paul, he was persecuting the church. And if he can say, this is what I do, because I persecuted the church, I have to forget all the bad things that I did, and now we need to move forward from that. I think it's important for us to, if he can, move past, because I think a lot of times Christians, especially, I grew up in the church, so I do this a lot, think of all the things that I've done, or things that I should have done, or whatever I could have done, and you have to forget that and just keep pushing forward instead of keeping on looking back.
All right, somebody read, I agree, big time. Somebody read Galatians 6:9.
Let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Don't get tired of doing good.
No.
Regardless of all the examples of people or things that, especially people, because when I look at people, it's like, oh my God, look at them, they're doing blah, blah, blah. Then I say, hey, stop that.
Stop that.
Stop that. That has nothing to do with you. God told me to continue on. He's watching me just like he's watching everybody. We'll all get our just desserts.
But talking about, we can't grow weary or faint, so going back to the racing analogy or the running or the exercise analogy, sometimes you'll, Ms. Anna, you will get this, it's like, sometimes you have to dig really deep to get your, well, you're a big exercise, your second wind.
Sometimes
kick-
I'm like, I'm about to throw up, so I gotta stop.
Well-
I ain't that serious now.
I lay on the floor sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not one more crispy.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, but you have to,
Yeah,
you
well,
have
yeah.
to sometimes, you know, it's not easy to keep going.
No.
You can't faint and grow weary, but it's not easy. So when we call on the people in our clouds, the people that are around us, when we're digging our faith, our prayer, whatever, that is things that we have to do that. But what are some of the things that we can do when we grow weary? What can we do when we grow weary?
Pray.
We can pray. We can look to our examples in our cloud.
Read scripture.
We can read the scripture.
You have other people, like you say, in your lives that have gone through struggles like that, you know, it's good to talk to somebody who, if you're facing a divorce or something,
Yeah.
talk to somebody who have been through that, or to get connected with other people who are not necessarily, and I'm not saying nothing wrong with having Christian friends, but you do have good people, strong people that are not Christians. You know, sometimes just an example of somebody that's hard working on a job will be an encouragement. Like I used to always look at people who were about to retire, and I would think, I'd be saying to myself, it would just kill me. To hear somebody walking out there, I gotta be here 24 years. Okay, but hey, 20 years have come and gone.
Yep.
Praise God.
You know, another
And
thing.
I finally turned my back on that job and waved, and I'm looking back at other young nurses who are coming in, and and they turning around too. But anyway, because they're being faced with a different kind of issue than we. We had to battle with Ebola and various things, but the COVID is really wiping the nursing system out. But the point is, you try to tell them, hang in there. You know, stay.
Well, see, and another thing that I think that we can look at is gratitude.
Yeah.
Gratitude is a big thing. You know, we have to look at our blessings every day. And, you know, I know you get weary, but it's like, especially in America, guys, I mean, we have it better than most. And let's hope it stays that way. But we have to have gratitude. And another thing I wrote down was compare our lives and compare what we're going through to what Jesus did for us. And that's,
We don't
you know.
have hill of beans on that.
Ma'am,
We don't have a hill of beans on that.
not a hill of beans, not one of them, not one bean.
But he left
Not even a hill, not a hill, one bean.
Because he left heaven, he left his home
Yeah.
to come that we might have a chance.
Okay, somebody read Hebrews 12, 4 through 11.
You have not yet resisted unto blood, you have not started against sin. You have forgotten that exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children, my son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him.
big time reading the Bible this morning, girl.
I don't struggle with these glasses.
No,
They're new.
it's the glasses.
It's the progressive one, and I
Yeah.
haven't had those before. So every time the mask moves up or I breathe, it
Yeah.
moves the glasses.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah, people with glasses and masks is hard.
Yeah.
But I'm going to read in the book now, on page 116. It says the Hebrews writer essentially tells his readers that they're not going through, what they're going through isn't that bad, and to look at the bright side. Well, that's not really something we appreciate hearing when we're in the middle of a pity party, valid or otherwise. But sometimes that kind of wisdom is just what we need. He reminds them that they haven't even shed blood yet. Recall from Hebrews 10:34 that they had suffered the seizure of their property, so their persecution is not small and more than I know of any American suffering. Some believe we may reach the point where persecutions of American Christians will be more outright, more physical, and more difficult to bear, and they may be right. For the Hebrew Christians, they needed to buck up now because while they had not yet resisted to the point of shedding blood, there was no guarantee that it would continue that way. Likewise, we have no guarantee that our current, quite mild persecutions will not intensify. If we find ourselves whining about what we face now, how will we bear more severe difficulties? Sometimes what we face seems to be different from what they faced, regardless of where our persecutions come from. We must remember the admonition given to the Hebrews. We must also remember that the fruit of endurance, we also remember the fruit of endurance, period. While some of what we endure may come from the world, the ultimate source may be God. With this perspective, we can count it a blessing, a sign of approval, a chance to be further molded to the likeness of Christ. Even when trials are anything but joyful, when they're sorrowful and threaten our faith, when we have endured through their training, we find the peaceful fruit of righteousness. Once again, imagine an athlete. Training can be brutal. Muscle growth comes from the first breaking down the muscles so that they can be built up stronger. That does not sound like fun. That does not sound like a joy. But athletes endure because they know that when the training is done, their goal will be that much closer and their body's much stronger. When our faith is being challenged, it's a chance for us to be built back up stronger than before. That is a very hard lesson to learn. And, knowing that, and I've even talked to Mike about this, it's like, I don't feel persecuted. And it talks about, if you are walking in the light or the faith, that you will face persecutions. Well, it's like, well, am I not doing that? I don't feel like I'm persecuted. So, that's something that I don't know what I think about that. Okay.
Well, I'm different from you. I have been persecuted. But we're not persecuted in the sense that we don't suffer physically. Like we're considered rich in this country. Okay? Even I'm not a rich person. I'm way down in the total poor. But if compared to other places where I was reading an article where people, this is just what I was reading. Little kids in Haiti take mud and mix it with something else and let it sit on the sun and eat it, and that's their cookie. So, but we're not like that. Think about how we can just go to our refrigerators, open up something. It may not be, what some rich person is eating this morning, but I can fry me an egg, I can make me some bacon, that is that. So we don't feel it because
Well, see, I'm not talking about that.
No.
I'm talking about spiritual persecution.
No. I'm just making an analogy. I'm just trying to make an analogy because I can see it on the spiritual side too. But what I'm saying is, as a need, we don't. Nobody's blasting in here getting ready to cut our heads off because we're in a Bible study.
Not right now.
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. So as a whole, but the Bible didn't promise us. I think we have a misconception. He said, if you will live godly, you must suffer persecution. And say, if you're not being persecuted now, is at some point in your lives we'll get it. And it may be somebody who's just telling an outright lie on you. That's persecution as a Christian. It may be that somebody, is constantly haggling you about something that they have a problem. That's what I'm saying. We are being persecuted, but we may
I'm not
established.
talking, for me, I'm not talking about physical
Yeah, yeah,
persecution.
but I'm just saying, I'm saying, as we're suffering all the time, and if we're not suffering, God promised us we kind of see things that we're rose.
Well, see, that's what I'm telling you. I don't feel like I'm
Yeah.
suffering. I don't.
Well,
I'm, you know.
You don't feel like the
so
world,
you want to be
like,
tortured?
all, like,
No.
No.
for me, growing up was not as bad, but like, what I have to deal with, like, my kids, like, we have to watch things before we let our kids watch things. We have to, like, or if we don't, like, a show that my kids watch, like, that has transgender stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that's persecution from the world, like,
Well, that's true.
like TV shows that are shoving things down my throat. I feel like that's a form of persecution. Like, I should be fine with it, like, I feel like that's a form of persecution that maybe.
All right, I've got one little thing left to talk about, so let me do that real quick. And we talked about the hands that are hanging down and whatever. We're strengthening the hands that are weak and the knees that are feeble. These are people who no longer feel that they can do the work of the Lord, and those who are weary of running the race. And the thing I thought about that was, I think that is a theme on Wednesday night, and we've talked about it in here, that we keep talking about. But to be able to do that, we have to have clear eyes. We have to be aware of what's going on with our brothers and sisters. We have to be involved. So, I mean, that's another example in here of, they're telling us where we have to be aware to know what people's needs are. Because how can you help them when they're weary if you don't know they're weary? So, and that's it. And I'm through. Miss Carolyn's going to take over next week. Woo! Sure.
I guess it's my pet peeve. It's hard to talk to somebody about a spiritual need if you do not meet them physically. That's all it is. Jesus understood that when he got through preaching, he had to
Yep.
he fed the 5,000. So sometimes a person cannot see something because they see all of these other things that's blocking them. And so as Christians, we know that things are not always bad as it looks. And so we're different. We can do that. We can say, okay, it's bad right now for one in our life or whatever. But I know that God's going to bring me through. A person outside the word cannot do that. And they're stuck in the past.
Sometimes I wonder if when or if we become persecuted physically, if that happens again.
If that what?
I mean, if that happens
We are
here in
very-
this country, I mean, you look at Afghanistan and there are Christians over there being, anyway, I mean, they were meeting in secret because they had no choice. But think about how strong their faith is.
Yeah.
From having to do that when we're just like, oh, we'll just gather here in public. And so I wonder if that was to happen to us, how strong our faith would be. How strong the church would be if you look at the first
I
century
tell Roger
church.
all the time.
I'm not saying
I'll
I
see
want
things-
us to,
Right.
that to happen, but
And I tell him, I said, we better get strong. Our faith better be strong. And, I mean, we'll sit there watching TV, and I said, it's coming. We better be strong.
you just don't know.
Don't know.
You don't know, and it's hard to.
I mean, and people are like, God wouldn't allow that to happen, and I'm like, it's happening. It has happened since.
His chosen people, Israel, went through
Yes.
so much, and definitely he will
Yes.
would allow it to happen.
And then to Anna, think about God used other nations to correct his people. When we sit here and we do not do what we're supposed to be doing, he can get one off of that too.
Yeah.
Let some things start happening in wonders, like and get me out of my comfort zone. Maybe we'll look to him.
I just pray for Jesus to come back. I'm ready, so, before anything gets too crazy.
What's too crazy?
Yeah, really. Well, it's crazy right
I
now.
thought what we're going through is a little too crazy.
A little crazy, yeah. A little too crazy.
It could get worse.
But darling, I hate to say this, but you know it can always get worse.
I know, that's the
Yeah.
problem. That's why
Yes.
it's crazy, but it can be worse.
Yep. My in-laws live right outside of Baton Rouge, and it's like,
Are they evacuating?
I don't think they would. I don't think so.
I texted
Rogers
a lot
talked to
of
him last night.
friends
I haven't
after
talked to him.
But is it, I mean, you know, they fixed the levees and they've re-engineered all that.
It doesn't
So
matter.
It should be able to withstand.
No, it won't.
It won't.
Here they go with call.
Well, I mean, it's not, it's just, Katrina was water.
Well, when
The
levees-
hurricane, when the levees broke, it was
Right.
water.
That was the worst part.
Yeah,
the levees,
that was the worst,
yeah.
but the
Yeah, that-
hurricane, I mean, it's the
hurricane was
hurricane.
just as bad. So like when we lived there and there were hurricanes, I mean, just flood, I mean, it's just gonna flood.
Well, people are still like rebuilding. Still.
Oh yeah, for sure. I talked to several people yesterday, like, are you evacuating? Please, you can come stay with us. Like, come evacuate. No, we're all right. I'm like, okay, well, you live in your life and your kids' lives.
I'm in a kids clothing group that's for this specific brand that people go crazy over.
Okay.
Well-dressed wolf?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, she's from Lafayette?
What is it?
She,
Well-dressed
yeah, where we
wolf.
owns it?
Yeah, she was from where
So
we
this is
Super
like a buy sell
crazy
trade
people.
group.
Oh, yeah.
This stuff.
So this lady commented and said, has anyone, they're in Louisiana, they
Yeah.
live there, and she's like, has anyone, claimed wolf on insurance? She's like, we've evacuated, but I left all my wool.
Are you kidding me?
She goes, I put it in a safe up high, a waterproof safe.
That's because
My
those things
word.
cost like $200 a pop.
No, they will if you resell it, but they sell for only like $65. I bought stuff.
Yeah.
But they will resell some of that stuff $500.
That's so
Shut up.
Resell.
Shut up. Why is it more expensive as used?
Because it's demand, everybody wants it, it's ridiculous. And it is cute stuff, it's cute stuff, but.
It's a limited release. Like they
Right.
don't just make them.
Honey, I had granimals. I'd go to Walmart and match my tags.
Yeah, my kids be wearing no, we do have some others, but it's because I bought it.
thought that was pretty good.
Not for $500.
No. Well, so when we had MK, they had like a well-dressed wolf, like, I don't know, I guess she had like just all of her stuff that was old and she had
Measuring
sale.
classes.
We went there and I was like, oh, James, we're totally getting this.